Welcome to the video, guys. Today we're talking about yoga and how it can improve your time trialing performance. So a very interesting topic and subject with regard to, how can you become a faster time trialist, whether this is in cycling specifically or whether this is for triathlon, Ironman, anything which involves an individual time trial on a triathlon bike or time trial bike, etc. So yoga is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated things that you can be doing to improve your time trialing. When I was training for my 12-hour time trial or 12-hour ride, one of the things that I think really helped me with regard to not my fitness particularly as a byproduct of my fitness, but also just being able to maintain a position comfortably for that longer time. And I think that one of the fastest ways, without even worrying about your training, your fitness, your FTP, anything like that, one of the fastest ways you can become faster in or quicker over the course of a 90-kilometer half Ironman or a 180-kilometer bike ride in an Ironman is to be able to hold your position for the entire duration without having to unnecessarily get out of the saddle and stretch because you're either numb on your saddle or you're cramping in your back. Everything's getting tight. Your lower back's getting tight. Glutes are getting tight. You have to get up. Your neck's getting tight. You can't hold the position of being down in those aero bars for the entire duration of the event. Now, obviously, it's good to get up and get some stretching when you can if you're going up a hill or a slower area or slower part of the course. But at the end of the day, if you are constantly having to get up and stretch because you're uncomfortable, you lack flexibility, and your position causes cramping and discomfort and tightening of the muscles, yes, it could be a bike fit issue, but also I think improving flexibility through yoga and not just stretching alone, but yoga is definitely a great way to do it because it focuses on, if you look at something like yin yoga, focusing on those deep stretches, getting right into the muscle, into the fascia, and really trying to improve your flexibility overall. One thing with yoga, I think in particular, that's important is that you do it often. It's no point doing it once and then hoping that you get all these benefits. It needs to be something that you do a few times a week at least. 3 times a week, I would say. Try and incorporate this into your protocol. You only have to do it for half an hour or an hour, like depending on how much time you have. But I think prioritizing flexibility is very, very valuable and can never be overestimate. Well, the effects and benefits can't be really overestimated in terms of, it's not so much how much power you can put out always in a time trial. It's can you hold your position? Can you get off the bike? If you're doing a triathlon, can you get off the bike and run afterwards and all that kind of stuff? So flexibility, not having this unnecessary movement from the position and getting up out of position, super, super important. Cycling puts a unnatural load on the glutes, on the lower back, on the neck, particularly when you're time trialing. So improving flexibility in these areas will be highly beneficial. And you can do the test. You can do 200 watts or 300 watts, depending on what you want to average, and do that when you're constantly getting out the saddle, and then do it when you're not. And you're going to go a lot faster if you don't have to constantly get out the saddle and stretch. So that's number one, flexibility. Second one, core strength and neck strength, particularly. Strengthen the neck. Obviously, you need to be in this unnatural position of hunched over, supporting the neck in this horizontal position. Not always that comfortable, and particularly for longer time trials. Yoga practices like hatha yoga, for example, do focus on some core strength and stability of the back, and that's highly beneficial and always going to help your time trialing. Beyond flexibility and core strength, posture is a big one. This particularly maybe pertains more so to like triathlon when you're getting off the bike and you're running, and just in general, improving posture, improving your baseline posture, I guess, really, is always going to improve performance in terms of, not always going to improve performance, but it's going to be very beneficial in terms of injury reduction. If you're constantly walking around hunched over, putting unnecessary stress on particular joints, particular muscles, and you're imbalanced and you're out of symmetry, then that will unnecessarily load particular areas of the body. And then, in triathlon, for example, Ironman, you get onto the run, you're going to be more prone, even just during training, to injury. So improving posture, super important, and yoga definitely works on this. The next things which aren't directly going to improve your time trialing ability, but in terms of being able to hold the position on the bike, which again, I think holding position is one of the most underrated things possible, because everyone focuses on getting super aero, but then they get into the race and, it's kind of like, oh, well, after 20 kilometers of a 180-kilometer bike ride, they're already getting out the seat because they're like, got to stretch, the lower back's tight, the glutes are tight. If you can hold position, you're going to go so much faster, regardless of like your baseline levels of fitness. So that's number one. But we also look at yoga in terms of, if you're doing yin yoga practice, those deep muscle stretches and particularly breath control. And it might seem a little bit out there, but I think focusing on that deep diaphragmatic breath, and being able to deep into your abdomen rather than just breathing shallow, is definitely going to help you to circulate more oxygen around the body. It's going to help you just to feel more in control of your breath as well, rather than letting, in a sense, your breath control you. When you're going hard and you start to huff and puff and pant and things going into overdrive, if you can stay calm and collect your thoughts and almost be into, or try and get into like that meditative state where you're having that deep diaphragmatic breathing, and you feel in control of your breath, that's going to be definitely good for your confidence. It's going to be good for your overall performance and aerobic capacity. So that's one of like the side benefits of yoga. I think that just merely doing a stretching routine or merely just trying to improve mobility in and of itself isn't going to do, because it does focus as well on that breath control and then trying to clear the mind and get into that meditative state, which some people can do easily. Other people, it's more difficult. And for those, I think that yoga, well, for anyone, but particularly for people who find it hard, breath control, definitely a big advantage. The next one is improved recovery. This is many different domains of recovery. Yoga has been found, researched in many studies, to improve immune system function. So it's going to reduce your susceptibility to infection, to becoming run down, to illness. And that's, of course, going to improve performance because you can train harder without getting as sick. The immune system, how does it do that? Well, one of the main things is obviously blood flow, but also cortisol. Yoga is definitely a restorative practice in terms of reducing cortisol, which suppresses the immune system in the long run. In the short term, it can be beneficial, but in the long run, it can be detrimental to your immune system and the resilience of your immune system. So improved immune system function is one aspect of recovery. The next is sleep. I would always say, well, I would probably advocate for doing yoga at nighttime, really. Go through your day, do your things, and then if you have half an hour before you go to bed, do a nice yin yoga routine. It's going to activate the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest side of your autonomic nervous system. Remember, we have sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is like during the day, fight or flight, go, 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 busy, busy, busy. Parasympathetic, rest and digest. During training, it can be sometimes very hard to switch out of that sympathetic and into the calming, restorative parasympathetic nervous system state or dominant state, whereby you can get into a deep sleep, relax, get that really good rejuvenating, revitalizing recovery. And I think that a short yoga practice, collecting your thoughts, breath control, deep muscle stretch, and that relaxation component can be very beneficial for sleep and then, of course, recovery. And then, of course, the recovery aspect in terms of eliminating byproducts of muscle breakdown, lactic acid, circulating blood flow around the body. A lot of these routines and positions help to improve oxygenation of the muscles and to really detoxify. So again, obviously the importance or an important benefit of yoga is recovery. But specifically for time trialing, flexibility and being able to hold your position from a performance only aspect, I think that the number one thing that yoga is going to improve is your capacity to just to stay in position and not break it, because you can never underestimate the importance of that. It doesn't matter what you can do for 10Ks, and if you can hold your position and you don't have to get out of it. If you're doing an Ironman, 180 kilometers, and you have to get out of aero position, instantly you're losing power. Well, no, you're not losing power. You're losing speed. You're probably going to have to put out more power just to maintain even less speed, really, because you are now just opening the surface area of wind resistance, and that's becoming so much greater. So being able to hold position should always be a number one focus of any time trial focus on improvement. And yoga is certainly, in conjunction with its core strengthening, posture improving, breath control, recovery aspects, all of that is secondary benefits which will help you overall in your athletic endeavors and particularly your time trialing. But number one is flexibility. And if you don't have to break position at all, or very rarely, just to kind of get up and have a very slight stretch once or twice, you're going to go a hell of a lot faster, because when you're traveling at 35 kilometers an hour, 40 kilometers an hour, 45 kilometers an hour, the biggest thing to going faster is not necessarily putting out more power, because the more power you get at higher speeds, the more diminishing returns you get. Of course, more power equals more speed generally, but being able to hold position is probably more important when you're on a flat road, you're traveling at 40 kilometers an hour, and because if you were to break position, all of a sudden you have to do 100 more watts just to put out the same speed. So that's number one thing. Let me know what you guys think. Leave any questions and comments below. Have you tried yoga? Has it improved your time trialing performance? And I hope that was beneficial for some people. Hopefully that inspired some of you guys to take up, a little bit of yoga. And just in general, I think from a health and mentality performance, or not performance, but mentality aspect and well-being, stuff like that is really important, because we live in such a busy world. Everything's go, go, go. And if you can just sometimes take a minute for yourself to breathe, relax, try and be impartial to your thoughts, that can always be beneficial just from a general health perspective. So yoga will improve time trialing performance. It'll also be very beneficial for you as a person in general and your health. Thanks, guys. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.